In this video we are going to play a little bit with generating some fog, illuminating a scene or giving a bit of a mood based on the light. I have this scene here in which is just simply a room that I made with some openings that suggest some windows, just a cube with a ground plane. And I also have on the back here a little opening so that I can let some light come in on this side, just to help a little bit with illuminating inside of my room. And I want to generate some beams of light casting here from the background and casting some shadow on this object. To start that, I'm going to start by creating a camera. So usually it's a good idea to create a camera to be looking through, and that will be my camera to render camera 1. So I can use my perspective camera more like for working or adjusting things. And if I say this is my camera, I'm going to activate my resolution gate so I can see this one. So I can see really what the camera is going to be seeing. And I'm going to just to leave it somewhere, let's see, somewhere there, so I can get a bit more of a glimpse of all the windows peeking in, and putting this on the thirds. And I'm going to click on here this icon to lock my camera, so that way I'm not moving it by accident. And I'm going to split my room in two. I'm going to put here on this one, it's going to be my camera 1, and this will be my perspective camera. That way I can just move around and create things. I'm going to just minimize this one here for now. And I'm going to start by creating a sky dome, Arnold light sky dome. That sky dome is going to generate some light coming from inside. And I'm going to connect to that an EXR with a dome picture that I got from texture.com. And that picture is going to be, actually let me just show you what picture that is. I have it right here. And that is a, let's see, is this the kind of sunsetty, it's a Chernobyl thing, but I just care about the lighting and the background. I'm not going to show any of these drawings in my scene. I just care kind of the warmth produced by the color. I actually have a JPEG and an HDR image. The HDR will probably be a bit brighter, a bit more saturated. So I'm going to just be playing with those to see what result they give me. So I have my sky dome here. I'm going to connect to the color of my sky dome that picture, and I'm going to use because I want the photograph to be seen more realistically. I'm going to use the JPEG, since I'm going to use that one as the backdrop. If I wasn't to use that one as the backdrop and just simply as a lighting source, I probably would use the HDR image, will give me a more contrasted effect of lighting. But for now I'm going to use the JPEG that is going to give me that background. That JPEG actually, if I look at it again, I'm going to open it up here. That image is actually 1K, it's 1024 in width. So by doing that, I'm going to make sure here under the attributes of the sky dome, I'm going to change the resolution to 1024, meaning being more precise with the image for rendering. So Maya will be able to recognize that the image is there. I'm going to rotate my sky dome there a little bit, move it maybe a little bit up or down, just to really choose and find a good placement for it. I'm going to say that would be enough. Let me just try to maybe get a little bit of the, let's see if I can get a little of the green there. Maybe not, maybe just rather have a little bit of the yellowish sky there. And I'm going to try just rendering that out just to see how that looks by default. So I'm going to just close my render window, and here it is. Let me see. Alright, let's see. My computer, my Maya crashed, so I had to go back and recreate the process, but here we are again. So I'm going to open up my render window. I'm going to try just rendering my camera 1 to see what it says. to see what it does. And so I have my scene here, and the sky dome is producing some light coming through the window, and not bad. Just enough is not just enough for what I want to do. I may want to crank up a little bit of the intensity of the sky dome. Maybe I can go to increasing that or increasing. Let me just fix this because I lost my file there. So here is 1024 one more time. I can crank the resolution to 2. That way, that'll just make it 4 times stronger. Although that blows up a little bit too much of the lighting back there. So maybe just keep it at 0 here. Maybe just crank it at 2 there. So this just brightens it a little bit, but not that much. I may have to go back and fine tune this one a bit more, because once I try to create my fog, my blow it a bit more. I'm gonna just stop that one right now there, and I'm gonna just move this window to the side for a moment. So now, in order for me to create those beams of light, I need to create a light specifically to produce that. And the lights that you can use for this are either spotlights or the area lights. Let me use an area light. That way I'm using a light that is more like Arnold light and not an actual Maya light. That way I'm not going to reach it a bit more friendly. And I'm going to put this object kind of mimicking a little bit of the placement of the sun without letting it see through the window, because I don't want it to be seen through the window. Just want it to produce a bit of that effect of light. If you hit 7 on your keyboard, it should show a little bit of what lighting is doing. It's not doing much. And you see there, if I render it out, it won't make a big difference, because that light is just rendering the wrong camera. Render camera perspective. Camera 1. It should be rendering the camera. Oh, it didn't take the actual camera. No, I did not. It's reading the perspective camera by accident. That's not a good thing. Just close the window, launch it again. I'll try to see if I can refresh this here. Camera shape 1. Render. Oh, that is Arnold there for you. Alright, so we're going to try to just launch it from here and render from this one, camera 1. This is the Maya render window, but it's using the Arnold engine to render, so sometimes a bit more reliable. You can see it's cranking already. Of course, 2 lights, so that is may take a bit longer to calculate everything. Alright, so there is coming back. I like the Arnold render because it gives you kind of like a faster preview. You don't have to be waiting for all the calculation to be done to start seeing. But this one, as I said, is not making a big difference in my image. It's just adding a bit more time, and the light is not strong enough. I'm going to stop it there. Just hit escape on your keyboard, and that will stop it. I wish this one worked a bit better. For some reason it's not doing it. Right, so let me see. I'm going to start playing with it so that I can try rendering a bit of a fog. Let's see if I can get it to work one more time. Camera shape 1. Alright, that seems to be the one that we need to be rendering. Alright, so I'm going to stop it there and put it here to the side for a moment. And now I'm going to generate a fog node that will give us a little bit of those kind of dusty gray beams that we want to come through the window. So for that, you're gonna call your render settings. You could be by clicking on this icon, or by going Windows, Rendering Editors, Render Settings, and that launches the window there. And under the Arnold render using Arnold, you're going to run our tab. And here you will let me just bring these guys back to the basic default. I was playing with it before, so by default it comes at 3. You go here under environment, and under atmosphere you can click on this guy, and you can add a atmosphere AI atmosphere's volume, and then that just builds it there. that creates a node, and that node, you can see it already activates here. If you don't see it here on the side, you simply click on the little arrow, and that'll show up here. And you can get this guy, the density, to give you a bit of the thickness of the fog. So I'm just gonna try 0.2, a small number. I'm gonna test it to see what it does. It might not do much because the light is not strong enough, but I'm gonna try that. And as I said, yeah, it's not that visible. It's not really showing up. So let me stop it there, and I'm going to try now clicking on that light. Or I can just click on the light here. Is the area light, and I'm going to crank up the intensity of the light very, very high. I'm going to say 50, and I'm going to make the light very strong. So we're going to test it out, see how it looks. I'm going to just change it a bit first before I just test it out. So here it comes. And I think I'm starting to see a little bit of the foggy effect coming to life. I'm seeing some of the shadow happening here. I'm seeing a bit of the beams showing up there. It's very, very subtle, but you start seeing it showing there. We should start saving some of these images to compare from one to the other one. Of course, it's taking longer now because it's calculating the fog intensity. Let me just pause my video to let it render. Alright, it was just finished rendering. Took a minute and 40 seconds to render that. So I'm already very conscious of that. I'm going to just click on that guy and save it here. So already by clicking the little camera, I saved it here to have a reference of that one. And I'm going to crank up a bit more of the intensity. So I'm going to make them show up somewhere. I can crank them up there, here, get the intensity a bit stronger, or I can try to crank up the fog intensity to see if I can get that fog. I'm going to try the lighting first. It seems that I would like it to be stronger. So I'm going to say, let's say 100. And I'm going to test just using this guy, render a region, so I get a little bit of a faster preview before I have to wait for almost 2 minutes to render it. It's coming a bit more. You're seeing it there in action. You can see it here too. So I'm gonna pause it there. I'm gonna just try and go to a number that is a lot higher. I'm gonna say maybe 300. Just maybe push it to a limit where, and you can start seeing it all now taking a lot more presence in my scene. Might be a bit too much now, but it is. Let me just bring it down to 200. Right, this one seems to be a bit better and doing what I want it to be doing. Of course, this sampling is low, so you can see how the little dots show the low sampling that need to be modified. I'm going to pause that one right there. That section took 24 seconds, so good thing to calculate that. Right, so there are a couple of things that I want to modify here. One of them, of course, the color of those beams don't match the color of the picture that I have in the background. Other thing is that I can make a few adjustments to make the ribbon brighter, so that will give us some. So one thing I'm going to do just to modify first the color of the beams is to go back to the render settings window. Maybe this is it. And go down the path of the atmospheric volume and change the color of that one to maybe say use a tone. I'm going to just grab my another color. I'm going to grab my eyedropper. I'm going to click on that yellow tone there that comes from the actual background picture. You can see it took it there. So now I can go and test out my render one more time to see how that's looking. And you start seeing the beams taking a tone from that yellowish background sky dome image that we have. Of course, taking some time. If you want to make a more dramatic effect, you can always just hide temporarily the sky dome. If you click on the sky dome and you select it and go down to the visibility, you can turn off the sky dome from the camera and test out that the sky dome won't be visible. Now you see just the light, the area light producing that effect of color. You can see how much influence the sky dome has in this scene. Just bring it back up, just trying to show that. And I'll just wait a few seconds for it to finish rendering. Alright, it just finished rendering that section, so it took 22 seconds to render that. Sampling still low, but I see the foggy effect appearing in my scene. I'm gonna stop rendering there. What else can I do to brighten up the scene? These walls, by the way, are white. The shader that I'm using is just a white shader. So I can open up the room on the back so that I can let some more light come from the outside. That is one option here. I can grab this little plane and push it back so I can let some of the exterior light peek in more. Of course, that's going to give it more like an ambient outdoorsy feel, and we can test it out to see how that looks. And you can see there is more light coming in. Probably that diminishes the effect of the fog because there is a lot of light coming from the opposite direction there. So maybe I'm not so sure about that. So I'm going to just bring this one back in. I want to let a little bit light there coming there, so just to let some of that blue come in. But I'm going to do another trick here. Of course, you can create another light, but creating another light will mean slower render, and so I'm always hesitant of doing that because adding another light is not a good practice. Of course, you gotta remember, delete history, reduce your geometry, try to have as minimum edges as possible. So every single little thing, I'm gonna control delete this. I don't need that. Just to try to, and also delete history and objects all the time. That way you're not making your render suffer longer than what it needs to be doing. But a trick that I want to show you is I'm going to call my hypershade by clicking the little icon here, and I'm going to create a hypershade. I want you to share settings already. I'm going to create here from the Arnold shader. I'm going to create an AI flat. AI flat is a shader that does not receive shadows and does not get affected by anything else. It's just color. And I'm going to make this one. I'm going to give it a tone. Let's see, more like a bluish inside, kind of cooler tone, opposite to, maybe a little bit less, opposite to the color that, I closed it, opposite to the color that is coming through the window. And I'm going to assign that AI flat to that back wall, just the back wall. That one won't be seen in the camera, but it will be affecting the object. If you hit 5.6, you may see it. No, that's right. Anyways, I'm going to try to render it here. Minimize this. Let me go and call my render window one more time. Take this one. I might submit it to render. You see how that blue is producing that effect. Of course, you can change the tint, whatever the color you want to do, and that is not light. It's just simply bounced, a bouncing effect produced by that blue. That is a very, very bright object. It almost acts like a light, but it's not a light. So Maya is not calculating it as a light; it's just simply calculating it as a bounce object that is bouncing color, and keeps it a bit cooler in the environment if that's what you want. I can make it a bit darker when I just stop there. Make it a bit darker, but just pushing it in a bit more, so that we don't have so much light coming in from the outside. And I'm going to make my fog more visible. So I'm going to go to my render settings, crank here, increase the fog to just say 0.4 and test it out to see how it looks. So my fog becomes a bit more dense. My blue is very noticeable. I might want to tone down a bit of the blue, but I'm getting the effect, and you can see of course the blue being reflected here. What I'm playing back is simply just bouncing color, is not really producing light. You can see it reflected here on the ball. It's a bit too much, the blue. Let me just tweak it just to have a bit of there it is. I'm going to just make it a tiny bit lighter. There we go, just like a lighter blue. No need to be too contrasted. It's already rendering it there. You can always, if you want to exaggerate the effect of the fog, you can always get the image of the light to be seen through your camera. So if I bring the light, let's say down here, and I bring it to here, and I try rendering my render view, let me just try rendering that region over there. We'll make it this section and submit it. Then you get to see the light doing what it is supposed to be doing, which is illuminating. Of course, you're overpowering the sun that is in the background, but it gives you a good idea of lighting your scene. You're of course going to have to fine-tune more and more your object. So let me just render actually. I'm going to just turn this off and let the whole thing render by itself. Okay, here my image is finished. It took 1 minute 31 seconds to render. Let me just save it here so I can compare the original, the initial one, with the last one that has a bit more of that foggy effect coming through the windows. There is the last thing to talk about here is the sampling. You see the sampling is pretty low. I'm rendering at 960 by 540, so 1080 by 1920 would be a lot more time to render. That's why we are always trying to reduce render time. So I'm going to go back here. In order to improve the sampling here, I'm going to just do a little segment. Very probably just stop here and stop there. But you want to crank up your sampling. You can crank up your volume indirect a little bit to see if that helps a little bit. It usually just helps just a little. And just crank up, of course, your camera. I'm going to just go to probably 5 on the diffuse, to 2 to 4. Specular, I need that. Transmission, I don't have that. And I don't have some surface in this one. So I'm going to just put it to render there. Okay, just finished rendering this one. I'm going to save that one there. So that one took 5 minutes to render, and the sampling is not quite perfect. So you see that we have just 2 lights here, and we are having some challenges because our file is getting a bit longer. So foggy effects require longer time, and we may have to crank the sampling a bit more to get a good resolution. You can see here some sampling is not working right. Alright, so hopefully this helps you. I'm going to just increment my file here just so I can keep it. And good luck with your rendering, and we'll see you next time.